Hey team, it's Jen here. I am coming to you at the mouth of week 2 as we get to know our students and they continue to get to know us. I wanted to drop by and just offer you some tips for success in week 2 um, and also to look back on week 1. In week 1, we're just getting to know our students, and it can be a really exciting time for so many of us as we get to know what our students' needs are, what their likes are, why they have chosen this path for their education. And I hope that you've really gotten your hands dirty in getting to know your students. I know that for me, getting to know my students in the first 2 weeks of the course is central. I always invite them to come to my online office hours via Skype. I invite them to shoot me emails to let me know more about them. And I ask them questions in the introduction forum that are aimed at really getting at the heart of who they are as a reader, who they are as a writer, why they've chosen this path, why they believe in academia, um, you know, the kind of text that they like to read. I'd like to know as much as I can about my students in the very beginning of the course because I feel that doing this really helps me to um, help them along their path in this course to become a stronger academics and to produce the kind of writing that's going to get them published by the end of the term. Um, at least to set them on that path. So I hope that you're also having a great time getting to know your students. If you haven't already, please pop by our team shell where you can tell us a little bit about your students this term. I know every term the student body sets a tone in the course, and sometimes that tone is phenomenal and other times it can be a little bit shady and unsure. So stop by the discussion forum and let us know what your students are like this term. I'd also like to know some details about how you change your teaching persona or change your approach depending on the student vibe, the student tone, the student body. Do you do that? Drop by the forums and let us know. A couple things I want us to keep in mind as we go forward to week 2. The first is making sure that all of the kinks are ironed out of the course. As you go through, you'll start to notice that your grade book is set up in a particular way. Make sure that it's working for you. As you go on to grade your first round of deliverables in week 2, make sure that you are being very clear about your expectations for grading. I like to see instructors engaging the language of the rubrics and also using numerical values to help students understand how they met and did not meet the grading criteria. I think that using numerical values for grading is helpful for students because it shows them that your evaluation of their work is not entirely subjective, that there is an objective component to it where you are judging for very particular things that they either have or that they don't have. And I think for our students, that's a very important aspect for them to grow. Because they do begin to see the academic genre and academic writing and academic discussion as something that does meet certain objectives. It does conform to particular criteria. It's a very important lesson to teach our students. So I do look for my instructors to deliver that kind of feedback to students to help them understand that there are laws and gestures and movements that are particular to what we do as academics. That's very important. So I'm looking for that. Also, please do make sure, if you haven't already, I know most of you have, that you are being very explicit with your students about your late policy and about your expectations. Feel free to post information about yourself so that students get to know you in the My Instructor tab. I see many of you have done this already, and that's great. Also, I like to let instructors know as we go into week 2 that being very clear about plagiarism, what plagiarism is, especially in terms of taking a piece of writing that you've done in the past, perhaps for another course, and reusing that piece in a different course than the one in which it was originally constructed, that counts as plagiarism. Many students are not aware of this, and many instructors run into the problem later in the term where they're getting, a really high percentage of plagiarism on grade mark and turn it in because students are resubmitting older papers. You want to be very clear in the beginning of the term that this is not acceptable and let them know why that counts as plagiarism. I think whenever you lay down a law, I think it's always important to let students know why that law is functional, why it's important, why it matters at all for them in terms of their development, to not just hand in a paper that they've already submitted. And finally, I think one of the most important things about going into week two that you should do as an instructor, or at least that I do as an instructor and that I found really useful, is to be very transparent with your students about why the types of deliverables that they're asked to do have merit. So for example, if you have a course where there's a group workshop or some peer review or some wikis that are due, later in the term, you will probably butt heads with some students who are like, I don't understand the function. Why are we doing this? Why are these wikis important? Or why are we doing this group workshop, right? So I think in the first couple weeks of the course, lay down your stakes. Let students know, the workshop that we're doing this term, it's really important because it gives you the chance to engage with your peers in the way that academics are asked to engage in today's academic environment. You're having the chance to practice moves that you'll be doing when you go on to get published or when you go on to become an instructor, because you're asked to evaluate your peers' work and to judge their work and to hold that in light of a metric system where you will not only develop and further push your own understanding of the rubrics, the metrics, the boundaries, the guidelines of academic writing, but you also have the chance to judge others' adherence to that criteria. And this is absolutely pivotal to the next step in your career. So something like that. Let your students know why. Why wiki? Why group? Why peer review? Why discussion board? How do these things function? I think that you'll find that doing this early in the term is really going to help you later on when students are like, I don't like this. I don't really know how it works. I don't know why it's important. And you start getting students who start doing subpar work in these deliverables. Start at the beginning of the term. Let them know why these things are important. I hope that's helpful. You guys have a great week. Feel free to hit me up on Skype anytime you want to chit chat about what's going on in your life, questions that you have, concerns, anything at all. I'm here. Bye for now.